and good afternoon for those of you from the East Coast. My name is Alison Reed, and I am playing a Lenten lunchtime recital for St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Yardley, Pennsylvania. I'm very happy to be invited by your rector, Hillary Greer, my dear friend from college. We've known each other a very long time, and I was so touched that she invited me to be a part of this. So Monday, I posted something on Facebook asking the composers that I know if they could write something, since we're all, having this unique, universal shared experience, write something about life this week, life this month, and the coming weeks, just kind of how we're doing. So I'm very excited to have two of those pieces, and also a new transcription that I'll be premiering on harp. So I will introduce the pieces as we go. I'm going to start off with something that you're probably familiar with. This is the aria from the Goldberg Variations by Johann Sebastian Bach. The story goes, although I think it's been disputed, but kind of fits into the theme, so I'm going to go with it anyway, that this was written for a count who had insomnia and had a very gifted keyboardist in his court, and so there's the aria and then a large set of variations, and when he had insomnia, he would ask his keyboardist to play some music for him. I am probably not alone in having had some insomnia this week, so you might be sharing the same experience, so I thought this would be a great way to start off. So this is the aria from the Goldberg Variations. I have a new piece for you. This piece is by my good friend Lane Harder. He is a percussionist and a composition teacher here in Dallas. We have collaborated several times over the years, and he was one of the first to jump on and say he'd be willing to write something for me, and he actually sent me a big pile of short pieces, so I'm just going to premiere one of them today, and possibly we'll kind of trickle some out later over the coming weeks. But he wrote a very long, eloquent paragraph that I'm going to try to summarize really quickly. He's got an adorable daughter named Sullivan, who's 5 years old, and he is going for afternoon walks with her. And in his paragraph, he sort of talked about how we're all in this suspended reality in a way, and sort of that all-day afternoon that children have, that we sort of forget how that goes as adults. So this is called Reverie, and I think it really speaks to that moment of, the slowing down of time and kind of, turning inward, as we all must do at this time, since we're both physically inward and also kind of emotionally inward, as we kind of bounce off the walls of our homes. So I hope you will enjoy this reverie, and hope to get some more of these out, because I think he's got a lovely set here. So enjoy the Reverie by Lane Harder. Well, this next piece is from the harp repertoire, specifically written for the harp, but this is from the 1800s. This is by the very first royal harpist, a Welsh harpist named John Thomas. He was appointed by Queen Victoria to be the royal harpist, and if you've watched any of the royal weddings recently, you have seen the royal harpist there, because both Prince William and Prince Harry have had the royal harpist at their weddings. So John Thomas wrote wonderful music. He's a contemporary of Debussy, and very lush, virtuosic music. He was actually an opera harpist in Italy, and in the off-season he would tour all over Europe and Russia writing for patrons. So I believe this comes from a set that's from that repertoire. It's not based on a Welsh tune, although he did write a lot of concert variations based on Welsh tunes, so go check those out as well. So this is called The Smile, and there's a little text from Moore on here. When first that smile like sunshine blessed my sight, oh, what a vision then came o'er me. Long years of love, of calm and pure delight, seemed in that smile to pass before me. So, I think we can all use a smile right now, so this is my smile to you. I hope you enjoyed The Smile by John Thomas. Well, next we have another new piece. This piece is from 2015, originally written for piano by the French-American composer Francis Cavalli. We have been corresponding a little bit this academic year because he posted something that I happened to see somewhere of just him playing a piano piece, and I thought, as harpists tend to do, we're sort of the scavengers of the musical world. So I thought, wow, that sounds great on piano, but I bet it would sound great on harp. So I wanted to borrow it and see if he had anything else, excuse me, that he has written for harp. And he did have something. He had a trio, a harp trio. And so he was kind enough to send me the score to that. I happen to have a harp trio at one of the high schools where I teach, and we've been working on preparing a program. So we were set to start that. Actually, probably last week we would have started that piece, but it may be postponed to the fall. I kind of think we're not going to get back to play together in May, so as we had planned to do. So we will just keep that on the back, excuse me, on the back burner. But in the meantime, I was just updating him and letting him know that that there was going to be a postponement, and so we have been talking about arranging some of his piano works for harp, and I'm hoping I can convince him to write something for something more for harp besides the trio. So this is from a set of 10 pieces for piano. They're I've lost the word now, but it will come back to me. Excuse me. But this is the aquatique. It's a short movement in between these improvisatory works for piano. So I've just arranged this since Monday, and he sent actually several scores as well. So I'm looking forward to diving into those more and seeing what we can do to make his music work on harp. I think this is just gorgeous, and I hope that you will look up his websites. I believe Hillary is posting websites as I play the pieces of the composers. Oh, and we are going to do questions at the end, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. This is all very new for me, trying out this technology, so I'll pause at the end and get my phone and see what questions there are. So if you have questions, I think you can post them to the church post that this is on. I'm sure Hillary can let you all know how to do that, or send them to her. So this is the Aquatique by Francis Cavalli. Well, next we have a piece from the Standard Harp Repertoire written by Marcel Tournier. And Francis and I had been talking about which composers write well for harp and looking through a repertoire, and he had mentioned Tournier, who's absolutely one of my favorite harp composers. He just has this very lush, rich harmonic sound. He was the harp professor at the Paris Conservatory of Music in the first part of the 20th century. And he really did not love transcriptions for harp, so apologies to Tournier for the transcriptions that I'm doing, but that's okay. But his mission was to write more music for the harp so that we didn't have to constantly borrow from other instruments. So he mostly wrote for solo harp, but he did write some pieces for chamber music. I think he has an opera out there. And interestingly, his wife was also a harpist, but she played a different kind of harp. I'm playing a pedal harp. I don't think you can see the pedals. They're down at the bottom, but I have 7 pedals corresponding with the 7 notes of the musical scale. And this is the harp that Tournier wrote for, but his wife was a chromatic harpist, and so her harp would have 2 interlocking sets of strings. So sort of you can think of the keys on a keyboard, the white keys going one way, the black keys going another way. And that's a very different repertoire. That's actually the Debussy Dances, which I played earlier this month, was originally written for chromatic harp, and then it was adapted for pedal harp by Henriette Renier, a classmate of Tournier's. And of course, as I said, we're the scavengers, so we stole it from the chromatic harp repertoire, and it lives firmly in the pedal harp repertoire now, although I did get a chance to try a chromatic harp years ago in college, and I did get to play a little bit of the Debussy Dances on that, but it's, it's kind of a different beast. So anyway, this is just a short piece. Doesn't get recorded that much, but it's beautiful. It's called offrande, which means offering, and of course I think that also ties into our theme here of finding all the good things we can find in this very unusual time that we're all experiencing. So this is Offrande by Marcel Tournier. Well, before I play the next piece, I'm going to step off and get a little drink of water because, as you can tell, I'm doing lots of speaking, so I'll be right back in just a moment. So our next piece is just a traditional Irish tune. When I was speaking with Hilary about what she wanted for this program, one of the things she tossed out there was a Celtic piece, and we are still in the month of St. Patrick's Day, and probably you didn't get to really celebrate St. Patrick's Day because we were all closing things down at that point. So this is excuse me, a very well-known jig, and it's called the butterfly jig, and you can just imagine we are floating outside with the butterflies and all is well with the world. So, butterfly jig, a traditional Irish tune. Okay, well, now that you feel like dancing, our next one is our last premiere for the program. This is by wonderful composer who is originally from Wisconsin. I met her here in Dallas, and she has recently moved to Portland, Oregon, where she is busy arranging and rearranging her apartment while she waits to really get to start her full life in Portland. But Portland friends, please do check her out. Her name is Kim Osberg. And she was connected with one of the groups that I have played with here in town, the Dallas Chamber Symphony, and has written pieces for that. And she also was very quick to jump on board to send me something. So this is a really great, fun piece called Porch Dance, and she writes about it that in this time of confinement, this is pretty much how she's spending her days. So out on the porch is dancing. So if you all want to get up and move around a little bit, this is a pretty lively piece. So this is Porch Dance by Kim Osberg. Not fun. So, our next one, since I am playing for a church, I want to keep that in mind, is a hymn. We're going to do one verse of two different hymns. I'll go from one into the other. The first is Eventide, also known as Abide With Me, and then go into How Can I Keep From Singing. So, a little bit of background on why I picked those. The feeling of Abide With Me, I think we all are sort of longing for that feeling. We're feeling that separation, and we're wanting someone to be there with us, and we want to feel that presence, whether on a religious level or on a social level. We want to feel that somebody is with us. So that's the first one. And then the second one of my favorite hymns, How Can I Keep From Singing? We just did a wonderful, wonderful new set by Gary Fry called Canticles, based on both How Can I Keep From Singing and also text from the book of Luke. And we actually premiered that on March 8th, I think. Calendar's sort of slipping away from me, but I think it was March 8th. It was Sunday. And the next day, my mother and I flew to New York City to see my sister perform in Carnegie Hall, small brag there. But the day we left, that Thursday was the day that everything shut down. So, you know, I loved the set of canticles before. I loved the hymn before the Gary Fry piece, but I feel like this hymn has really kind of taken on even more meaning. So, because we were incredibly lucky to be able to go, be able to see her, be able to really see the city. We had a wonderful time, and to, you know, the trip wasn't canceled due to the travel restrictions. You know, we just didn't really understand what was coming at us. So, so we feel very blessed that we were able to do that, and so we're still very joyful even in this time of, you know, some scary things going on. So this is an arrangement that I finished this morning, and so it's a pretty simple arrangement, but if you would like to join in, please feel free. Eventide, and then How Can I Keep From Singing? Well, I have one more piece for you. This is a piece that I love to close programs with because it's very uplifting, and we can always use that, whether we're quarantined or just dealing with daily life in the regular world. But this is a piece that was written for Louis Armstrong, and the composer was inspired by Armstrong's ability to bring people of different backgrounds, different races together. So I just think it's got a wonderful sentiment, and I hope you will enjoy this arrangement. It's a wonderful arrangement by Paul Baker. Those harpists out there who are wondering, it's called What a Wonderful World. Well, I hope you enjoyed this program. I want to thank the rector of St. Andrew's Episcopal in Yardley, Pennsylvania, Hillary Greer, my dear friend from college, for thinking of me and asking me to participate in this. And I also want to thank our composers who were so generous to offer out these scores this week, Lane Harder, Francis Kayali, and Kim Osberg. So I'm going to step off and grab my phone, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. So I'll be right back. Okay. Well, I will see if I can figure out how to do this. And maybe, Hillary, maybe you can send me messages, because I am not seeing anything in the comments. But somebody will let me know how this works. I hope. Let's see if I can figure this out. Once you feel better about yourselves, all of you understand this, and I am just learning. But we should take the opportunity to learn these things when we have the time. So certainly have the time now. So let's see. message and let me know how to do this, because I am not sure. Unless I need to look on the camera that is, oh, okay. Talk about Salcedo. Oh, yeah. Well, Salcedo, who designed this fabulous harp, designed this harp in the 20s. You can see the Art Deco style. He was into numerology, so there's lots of repetitions of 5 on here throughout the soundboard and the column and the bass, and also his color was red. I don't know if you can see these red stripes on the soundboard, but he was sort of a revolutionary. He actually studied at the Paris Conservatory around the same time as Tournier, and he was there with Grandgeny and Renier. They all studied with Alphonse Hasselmann, and Salcedo just really wanted to bring the harp out of the French parlor and really make it kind of a tour de force. So he was my teacher's teacher, and I would study with her. Her name was Alice Chalifou, and I would study with her in Camden, Maine. And I have some friends from Camden who are watching, so I know Jenny's watching, and I hope maybe Tom and Jeff are watching. So anyway, so I spent my summers up there studying with her, and he really changed, sort of like Liszt changed how we sit at the keyboard in a concert. We also, he changed how we sit at the harp. He wanted the harp to be visible. He wanted the movements to be visible. And he used a lot of extended techniques. I might have to dig out some Salcedo, just never far from my reach anyway, but I might have to dig out some of that for a future performance, just to show off some of the extended techniques that he used. Because even 100 years later, his music still sounds pretty fresh, sort of like Stravinsky. Not that he sounds like Stravinsky, but you hear Stravinsky now and it doesn't sound old-fashioned. So Salcedo's kind of a similar vein, but the pedal harp, as we know it, came into being the early 1800s. So this was well before Salcedo's time. He was born in 1885, died in 1961. So by the time he came to the harp, the modern harp was already well established. And John Thomas, who did the Smile that I played earlier, he would have been one of the ones that sort of cemented how we play the harp. So I don't know if that answers your question, but gives you a little bit of context for that. And let's see, my younger nephew, Theo, wants to know how long I practiced for this concert. Well, this concert was planned on Sunday, so I've been practicing as much as I can while setting up lessons to teach on FaceTime. But it's been a whirlwind, kind of 72 hours. But a lot of this music I've already played before. The John Thomas and the Bach are things that are kind of in my rotation. You mentioned the work that, oh yes. Hillary wanted me to mention our dear friend Linnell, one of my dearest friends anywhere. We have been friends since I was 14. We met up in Camden, Maine, and she is now living in Richmond, Virginia, and she has a wonderful school in Frederick, Maryland called Green Spring Music, and she's done amazing things with her kids. She started in the Richmond public school system, and her kids have played for the World Harp Congress. They've played in Carnegie Hall, Kennedy Center. They've just played everywhere, and their last album was nominated for a Grammy. So pretty amazing stuff. I work with students here in Dallas, both in the public and the private schools. I teach for Garland ISD, and I also teach at Hockaday, which is a private all-girls school. And then I teach privately out of my home, and I'm an artist in residence at Baylor Hospital. So I'm really disappointed to not be able to be at the hospital playing for the patients and the staff now, because I think they particularly need it under these very stressful times. But we we're just going to stay away until it's safe to come together again. But actually, on a related note, I'll be on one of the PBS interstitials, probably coming out either the spring or the summer. Don't know if things have gotten moved up since we're all sequestered, but was playing on one of the floors in the hospital, and one of the music therapists came up to me and said, "Hello, Alison, I don't know how to say this, but we have PBS here, and would you mind playing for them?" And so I had the opportunity to talk with Tony Morris, who's producing these interstitials. They'll be sort of the ends of, the end of your favorite Masterpiece Theater or Nova episode. They put in these little things like, they have the little animated short stories that they do now. So I'll be on one of those talking about the program that we do, working with arts in medicine and music in medicine. So that's a little bit about what I do and what other people around the country are doing. So I want to thank our composers one more time, and Hillary, for getting this all together. It really could not have been possible without everybody adding something to it. So thank you so much, and I hope we'll get to meet in person one of these days. Stay home and stay safe, and keep uplifting each other, because it's, this is what we need to do now. And we all have the ability to do it. So I think that's it. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.